you could get found in your sleep. That's the beauty of being online. These profiles, when you have a strong profile, that can work for you 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And that's why I think you never know who finds you, you never know who wants to engage with you. And that's one of the wonderful opportunities for LinkedIn. But what's really important to me is for you to start thinking about, if you're on LinkedIn or want to come onto LinkedIn, who are the kind of people you want to be connected with? Who is your audience? Who is your community? Who do you want to attract to your profile? And in many ways also, who do you want to repel? Because I'll share some figures in a minute with you. You'll be astounded how big LinkedIn is these days. I don't want to be connected with everyone on LinkedIn. I want to be connected with a specific part of that LinkedIn community, people who are in my field, who, researcher developers, people with a careers background, the academics, the researchers. These are the kind of people that matter to me. That's my community. And that's the people I want to engage with. And that also means what I put on my profile has to resonate with them. So who do we want to attract? Who do we want to repel? And then also, who do you want to connect with? Because there's this thing about attracting the right people, but also proactively reaching out to people and building those communities. And whether that is because you want to connect with people doing research in your field, or whether you're on the job hunt and you want to connect with recruiters or with research leaders who employ PGRs or postdocs, LinkedIn is a good place to do that. And also what's really interesting is years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, there were not that many people from academia on LinkedIn, but that's totally changed. And it's burgeoning, and more academics are coming over, and we at Leeds are very lucky. We have very, very active academics here on LinkedIn who are sharing lots of opportunities, engage with us. So it's a real joy. And some of it is also because people have been fleeing X. Some have gone to Blue Sky, but many have also gone on top of that, to LinkedIn. So a lot of our community is here. And if you want to think more strategically, longer term in terms of your careers, and also consider other options in academia, LinkedIn was created for the business world. So, I'll show you in a minute how many companies are on LinkedIn. Is pretty breathtaking. And this is what I just wanted to show you, and that is a LinkedIn economic graph. They update that every 6 months. And it's really fascinating because, yes, we have gone over the 1 billion user mark on LinkedIn. I never thought we'd get there. I think it's very impressive. And okay, Instagram is more than 2 billion. TikTok is more than 2 billion. But, it's a professional network, and 1 billion people is a lot of people. And then we have also, we have obviously, so many companies here, 67 million. Then 133,000 schools. So don't think that is secondary schools. So schools in LinkedIn terminology is universities. It could be, it could be secondary schools. It could be FE colleges. But every single university is on LinkedIn, and we need to go into that and look at that as well, to build your network. So the University of Leeds has a fantastic LinkedIn page, profile, and I'll go into that later on to show you a little bit about how you can connect with people at Leeds or any other university in the world and how you can find them quickly. And then this one here, 41,000 skills. That's how many skills there are. It's astounding, isn't it? And you have the opportunity to show 100 skills on your LinkedIn profile. And I want you to really think about, what are your skills? What do you want to put on there? Because when people are looking for employees, when they're recruiting, skills is a main driver on LinkedIn these days. Companies search for skills, especially those skills that are in short supply. And we can talk a little bit about that as well. So LinkedIn, 1 billion people, 1 billion profiles. And from a careers perspective, I also want to just point out 1 billion profiles means 1 billion career stories, career histories. And I use LinkedIn extensively with my researchers to look at, okay, how did people make career decisions? How did they build their careers? How did they get to where they are? We can learn so much from these profiles because it's all in the public domain. We can see the steps people took, the roles people had, the career transitions they made. And that is, if you're thinking of, oh, I don't know what my options are, LinkedIn is a real treasure trove of options, profiles, career directions that we might not necessarily consider for ourselves. And then briefly here, you can see the geographical spread of LinkedIn. It's not a surprise. The US is the biggest. It is the strongest. It's you know, the Americans are always so much into social media, but, you know, in the UK, the numbers are absolutely startling, because basically it means that almost everyone who's in work in the UK is actually on LinkedIn. But also, you know, smaller countries, the Netherlands is very high connected on LinkedIn. But, you know, look at the numbers here. It really is incredible. You know, most people who are active in their careers and their professions are on LinkedIn, and that is only good news for all of us. So I want to use now the opportunity, just briefly. Career Catalyst is our flagship program. I mentioned it before. And if you are enthused by what we're sharing this morning and want to learn more, this is the program that we run. Rachel Clark and I, we do this once a year. We normally run it from November to March. We're just finishing off. We had 50 of your colleagues in the program. It's incredibly collaborative and collegiate. We have PGRs, we have postdocs, fellows, we have some lecturers, we have technicians, and we all work together on all the different aspects. So not just your profile, although that's what we start with, but also, you know, how do you connect? How do you build your networks? How do you use the alumni function? How do you use LinkedIn Learning? How do you use it for career planning? I mean, once a month we come together and go into detail. So if you're interested, this is a really good way to really capture LinkedIn. But what I want to do now is, first of all, stop briefly and ask Jenny and Stuart whether there's anything in the chat I should answer, or whether it's all clear so far, and then we will go online to LinkedIn directly.
Hi Ruth, there's nothing in at the moment.
Okay.
That I can see, so I think we're probably okay to continue.
Excellent, great, thank you, Jenny. And I'll just go now straight onto LinkedIn. And I don't want you to be overwhelmed. There's always a lot going on LinkedIn. We'll make it work. And please do not hesitate to ask questions. I totally understand. You know, there's a lot here to see. And now you should, with a bit of luck, see my screen when you come in. This is what we call the home page. So on the side is your profile. In the middle are the notifications. And I'll go straight into a profile, because that's what we're here for. And I wanted to share a few profiles of people who have done such a wonderful job. And I know we have quite a few PGRs on the call, so I wanted to show you Johanna. Johanna is a doctorate here at the university, and she has done a beautiful thing with her profile. And I just wanted to highlight a few things and show you why I think Johanna's done such a wonderful job, so that you can see this. So first of all, what you see when you come to someone's profile is, you see this header image, and you see the headshot here. And I know when I looked at some of your profiles who are on the call today, is I noticed not everyone has a profile picture on there. And what I want to, what I would like you to think about is, how do you react to people when you see them online and there is no photo? Considering how many people are fake online these days, how many people pretend to be someone else, I think we're all very, very sensitive to the fact if no one shows a photo, because we can't really verify people. So for me, unless you have a really, really good reason not to put a photo on, and I'm aware of there are some circumstances, you know, for instance, you know, if unfortunately you're being stalked or you need to hide your identity for personal reasons, I understand that. But if you don't have any of those reasons, I would really urge you to put a photo on, because people then see you, and the people who work with Johanna will also recognize her. And also it's meant to be, when we go to networking events or meet people in person or online, that we connect the profile with the person. It's about recognition. That's why they also want at LinkedIn, they want us to have our face there relatively big. So if you're tiny, tiny, tiny on a photo and you can't recognize you, LinkedIn doesn't like that. LinkedIn wants a 70% of the headshot, you know, of that photo to be our head. That's obviously our decision, you know, but it's good to be, are you recognizable? And so I would always choose a photo that is your natural, you know, your natural self. And depending on your career directions, also think about, if you want to go to a specific industry. So for instance, in academia, we're all a little bit more relaxed about our dress style. But if you go, let's say, into accountancy in a reputable firm, they might have a different idea, how you show up at work. So it's always about, how do I fit that image going forward with my career. And then here at the top of it, you see Johanna, the image she used. And the reason why she used that image, I had a conversation with her about that, is she researches a very sensitive topic, so she has to be a little bit careful about what she puts out there, because she doesn't really want to attract any negative comments. So I think it's a really wise choice because of her research. And we'll discuss it in a session later today also about staying safe online. Then what you see is you see her name, and then you see a headline. And what I saw with lots of your profiles is automatically what LinkedIn normally does is LinkedIn pulls in your current position. So if your current position is, for instance, postgraduate researcher, like it is probably here with Johanna, so like teaching assistant, experience-wise, LinkedIn would pull this up here into the headline. But we want to make sure that we write our own headline. And for me, that's one of the most important pieces on your LinkedIn profile. And I'll show you different ones in a second, simply because it's the first thing that you see. So when you look here to the right, you can see the Elizabeth Tilley, there's a photo, there is her name, and there is her job title. Also here, Katie Granger, her photo, and PhD psychology researcher. So that's the first thing. But also, I don't know whether you're aware, but LinkedIn is like an online search portal. It's basically like a Google. It's a search. It has a search function, and it works with keywords. So when people try and find you and me, they put in here into the search bar some terminology that they think we use so they can find us. So in my case, I'm a career professional. So if someone wants to find me on LinkedIn, they will probably put in maybe career advisor, maybe career consultant, maybe career professional, maybe career coach. And so I need to make sure that I have this terminology on my profile, because otherwise I don't show up, or maybe I show up on page 10. But all of us who've done, searches online, we go maybe on page, we obviously go to page 1, maybe we go to page 2, but do we really go to page 10? Probably not. So my mission in life is to help my researcher community understand it's search engine optimization. It's pulling the right keywords into our profile, so when someone searches for those keywords, we show up, and not on page 10, but on page 1 or 2. And we know from LinkedIn, they're a little bit secretive about the algorithms, but I know for sure that the headline, so what we write here, you've got 220 characters. What you write in here, the keywords you use, is very important in determining how high up you come in the searches. So when you look at Johanna's here, why did I suggest, okay, your ESL funded, those PGRs on the call who are funded by the research councils, this is extraordinary. This is special. This makes you stand out from everyone else. If you're funded by industry or by a funding body, put this into the headline, because the right people will understand how significant it is, and also they might be searching for it, and it makes you stand out immediately. But then, she has disability studies in here, and she also has a very clear, why does she do what she does? Why does she do what she does? And also, what's unique about her? Because Johanna, like me, we're both German, and Johanna links the German and the English-speaking research and practice, because it's very different in Germany and in the UK, and she's building a beautiful niche with her research in this, and it makes perfect sense to have this in the headline. Let me just show you another headline so you can compare. I go to a postdoc at Leeds now and show you. Here we are. So Kira, let me just open her profile. And again, she's done a beautiful job. And look at that picture. It's pretty obvious what she does. She is in environmental science and marine biology. This is the power of having a really meaningful picture up here, something that's related to your work. It works beautifully. It's clear what she does. Then we have her headshot, and then look at her headline: environmental science, marine biology. And then she has these beautiful keywords. They are very topical. This is what her community talks about: aquatic pollution, climate change, community ecology. And then what I really love about it is, look at that, passionate about marine conservation, SciComm, and science-informed policy. She basically describes herself in a nutshell. This is who she is, and this is very, very powerful and so much more meaningful than if you talk what LinkedIn gives her. LinkedIn will probably say she is, what's her job title at the moment? Postdoctoral researcher. So unless you override this in the headline, it would just pull in postdoctoral researcher at the University of Leeds. And you know how many of us are there who are postdocs at Leeds. You are all unique. You want to make sure that you stand out with your own profile and with your own background and what you stand for. And you might wonder, how do I actually change this all? And I think for that, I'll just show you briefly. I have to go into my profile to show you, because I can then show you how you change things. And this is basically, this is my header image. Here's my headline. You know, I am on a mission. People who work with me know this. I'm a career professional on a mission to help a research community manage their careers with curiosity, clarity, and confidence. I'm a fellow of the Career Development Institute. I'm a mentor, facilitator, podcast, and adventurer. I put a little bit here at the back about myself. I am quite an adventurous person, and for me that's important that people recognize that. But when I want to change things, and you will have this on your profiles, here's a little pencil, and as soon as you see the pencil, you click it, and that's when you can change the headline and everything else. And what I would suggest is, if you want to change things on your LinkedIn profile, I would always write things in Word, because there you have a character count. You can check the grammars, check the spelling, and then I copy and paste over. On LinkedIn, we're still waiting for them to give us something that is a spell check, and I've waited for many years and I can't see it coming. So my workaround is, I write it in a Word document. I know with the headline I've got 220 characters, and then I can just copy and paste. I do this with all of the content I put onto LinkedIn. That's just a little shortcut for you. Whilst we're here, what I also want to show you, yes, you know, we're all at the University of Leeds. If you've been obviously at a different university, if you've always been at Leeds, it will just show Leeds. If you've been at different universities, only to show the top 2. I've been at 4 universities, and you know, they do it in order. So you know, that's just here. So I don't think you need to put University of Leeds into your headline here, because that takes away precious characters that I want you to use for yourself, because University of Leeds is already here. We're already showcasing the university. It doesn't need to be in my headline. But then what I also want to show you is, we have the opportunity now to also link to a website. And this is an opportunity for you to link it to your research profile. Maybe you want to have it to the university profile, or you might want to put it to ORCID, or you want people to follow you on another social media platform. I'm very active on Blue Sky. And so if you click on here, you find me directly on Blue Sky. And for me at the moment, that is the most important piece, because I'm building my community on Blue Sky. But I could, you know, 3 months' time, I could decide now I'll link it back to our webpage in ODNPL. You can always edit, you can always change. And then the last few things, you see this now from my perspective when I want to edit things. Yes, here there is my location, there is contact info, and don't neglect that. You know, if you're in job hunt and people want to get in touch with you quickly, it is useful to have your information in there as well. And you can see this here, so that the LinkedIn profile. And this is one thing I wanted to share with you as well. If you are on LinkedIn already, LinkedIn gives you your personal website. And what it normally looks like is your name and then about 7, 8, 9, 10 strange numbers. And I would love for you to change it if you still have the numbers, because what I want you to do is, and I hope I'm not going away now from you, I want to show you where we can change that. So on your profile, again, every time you see the little pencil, at the top you can see linkedin.com/in/Ruth Winden. I didn't have this from the beginning. I changed it. And what you can do is you can change your public profile and what we call URL. It's like a website address. And you click on the pencil, And now you can edit it. Have to do another pencil. What's going on with LinkedIn? Okay, here we go. So if you are on LinkedIn at the moment, and you see all those numbers there, I would love for you to try and see, is your name still available? If it's not still available, then if you have a PhD, you could put doctor in front of it, or you can do surname first, first name second, or you can add maybe, you know, your the initials if you have a middle name. Play around with it, and then save it and grab it, but get rid of the numbers. I've worked with recruiters who, you know, when they have a lot of people applying to them, they say, well, you know, we expect people to be really good with LinkedIn, and those who have all these bizarre numbers at the back of their URL, they don't know what they're doing, so we sift them out. I mean, this is how strange the world of work can be. So it's also really nice to have that clean name there, not all the numbers, because then I want you to put your LinkedIn profile as a hyperlink on your CV. Some of us still have business cards. It looks really pretty and very clear and professional if you just have your name on there. So it's something that is really, you know, I pay attention to that, and a lot of organizations who use LinkedIn extensively as well. You might say, is that really that important? I think it makes a difference, and it just, it's a little tip on the side here. So I'll save that.
Ruth,
yeah, we have a
sorry
question.
to interrupt you. We've just got a couple of questions in the chat.
Brilliant.
So I just...
Yes, fantastic. Good time.
Yeah, that's great. So the first one is, how do you insert the breaks into the profile text?
The breaks into the profile text. Oh, what do we mean by that? Let me just go back into the profile. I couldn't see it. Can someone clarify what you mean with with the vertical slashes? Is that what it is? They have a technical term. Who knows a technical term? There is a name for it. I always forget. Okay.
Yes, it is the vertical slashes. Yes, that's what.
Okay, so I admit it freely, I'm a Mac user. On my Mac, it's really simple because it's there. But you can always Google symbols and then put it in. It looks very neat and tidy, doesn't it? Some people use little emojis or anything. I like it plain and simple and professional, but you know, you could have different symbols in there. So basically, let me just show you. I'll show you quickly. So here we go. I go into editing, and when I scroll down...
Sorry, Ruth, I can't seem to... It seems to be stuck on my screen. I don't know if it's the same for anyone else.
Sorry about that. Okay. What can you see, Jenny?
Yeah, I'm not seeing what's happening either.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, what's going on? It says
it might be worth just resharing your screen, maybe.
Okay, can you see it now?
Yes, it's moving now.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, something happened while I was switching slides. Okay, I'll do it carefully again and hope. Let's pray for the... Let's see. What did I want to show you? I wanted to show you. Okay, with the vertical things here. Let's see whether I can share, and can you still see it?
Yes. That's great.
Okay. So when you click the pencil, it goes into this basic info, and you just have to scroll down slowly. Some of us want a gender pronoun, some don't. I'm not too fussed about it. Okay, and now I can see here the headline, and I can review it. Can I just give you one word of warning? I pay personally for my subscription, so I'm a premium user. That means LinkedIn offers me AI for everything, and I reject it everywhere. So far, I think LinkedIn is really not brilliant on LinkedIn, and I'd rather do it myself because I know who I am and what I stand for. When I've tried AI on LinkedIn, and it makes me sound like everyone else in my industry, and so I'm not happy to recommend it yet. Who knows, it might change in a year or so. So we're always learning, but at the moment I would not recommend it. Think about who you are, what you want to showcase, and then here I can now go in and I can type. You know, I can do things and just change it. And then we have, you know, the current positions, and you know, when you see the plus symbol, you add a new position. You need to give your industry as well. So obviously, you know, I'm in higher education, as we are. If you move forward into different industry, it's always important to then adapt it and change it. So you know, LinkedIn profile is always in flux. It's always always developing and changing, and that's okay. It's just a little bit more work for us. And you know,
Ruth,
here
is this the same section, Ruth, where you would add your Blue Sky link? That was also another question that we had.
That's another question. Yeah, very good point. Let me just go. I'm so worried about now clicking off, but it is basically there. So when we go down here, you can see the edited contact info, the website, and can you see this? Here's the website, and this is my Blue Sky connection. And what you can do, what's really nice, is so you put the link in, and then you choose what you want to call that. I said join me on Blue Sky, or I could say click here to join me on Blue Sky. You know, we know it's in marketing, we call it a call to action. You need to tell people exactly what to do. So maybe I should actually say click on this button to join me on Blue Sky. It was just a little bit long. Does that make sense? So this is, you know, this is what we can do, and you can do this. You don't have to pay for LinkedIn Premium to do this. So that's
great.
that. I'll just, I won't save because I changed my headline. And let's see. I hope I won't lose you now. Any more questions I can answer?
There's just a couple more in the chat. So there's one from listener where they say, I have a LinkedIn account from my previous research, and since they're now at Leeds, should they update that one or make a new one with their Leeds email?
Oh, please don't change the profile. Update it. The reason I say that is you will have built a community of people with your old profile. So when we're at a different institution, you know, you would have been active on LinkedIn, at least to some degree, and you know, I don't know how many connections you have, but let's say you have 100 connections. If you then start again with your Leeds profile, all of that goes away. And I don't want you to do that. It's really, really simple. You just update your current profile, and what you've done before doesn't get lost. It just means, I mean, I can show you on mine because I've done so much in my life. So my experience, so this is, I've been at Leeds now 4.5 years. Before I came to Leeds, I ran my own career consulting firm. So look at that. That was 16 years, you know, and so that doesn't get lost. That is still there. And I would not recommend starting a new profile, because all the work that you did in terms of building your community, all the work you've done in, you know, writing the entries for your experience, all these things, you don't want that to go away. You know, don't waste that time. Just update it and save it, and we need to talk about how to save things. Yeah. Any more thoughts or questions?
That's great. Yeah, there is another question from Vanessa about the background photo. So does it have to be one that people take themselves, or can it be a photo from the internet with a proper copyright attribution? And can it also be a collage of multiple photos that represent the work, or do you think that might be a bit too chaotic?
Okay, I'll show you something in a second. So I personally love the collages, and let me just go to Anna Tang, because Anna has done, I think, a collage. Let's just see. Yeah, so Anna has a little bit of a collage here, you know, and it's you know, it's got personal meaning to her. This is something she works on. I'll show you another one. A colleague of mine in the careers industry, Marie, she has 4 pictures there, so you can see the difference. Let's just click. Okay. Oh, she changed it. She used to have 4 different images there, like a collage. And so it's a really good question. So I'm glad that the person who asked the question said, okay, it has to be, if I go online, it has to be copyright attributed, because that is the big danger. I see too many people just going online and just downloading things, and that can get you into serious trouble. So what I would say is, either go to the, if you have a photo library in your department, we have a photo library at the university, that's one option. Taking your own photos. I've worked with researchers who just took screenshots of the kind of things that they're researching. It's their image, as long as it's confidential information, you know, it works beautifully. There is something called unsplash.com with gorgeous images by amazing photographers. As long as you accredit the photographer, you're allowed to use it. It's called unsplash.com. Or you can go to sites like depositphotos.com, and it's $1. The images are really cheap, you know. But I would really encourage you to think, you know, what exemplifies you at the moment, what shows, like what Kira did, I mean, she's in marine biology, and I just love the image, because it's such a soothing image. You see, oh, there has to be something with the oceans, the water, the fish, whatever, marine. And that's what I think that the power is, if we see from the image immediately, at least to some extent, what the person is in. It's not always that easy. So me and careers, can you imagine? I mean, careers, what do? I either run a workshop, or I speak at a conference, or I sit there with a group of people. It's not necessarily that interesting to look at, and that could be an image for anyone in consulting or in so many different professions. So it's not always as easy as I make it sound. That's why I chose what I chose, simply because I have these rainbow colors going off someone, and for me it exemplifies, a researcher looking at all the different options. I'm making this up. This is what most people probably don't see, but it's also, at least it's colorful, and there's a person in there. Does that answer the question?
No, that to me, that sounds great. I mean, I was also wondering about that as well, in terms of, what images to use. So no, that's really helpful.
Yeah.
We do actually have another
yes, please. Yeah.
question about updating profiles.
Yes.
So in terms of deleting or restarting profiles, which you've sort of advised against, we have a question from Claire saying that they made their LinkedIn profile many years ago before returning to academia, and there's a lot of what are now quite irrelevant connections on there. So is it wise to do some deleting of all connections so their feed isn't filled with things that have no interest? Or can you mute people?
Okay, yes. Let's talk about the connection piece, because that's really important. So for me, I'm an enthusiastic networker, and I also believe in the diversity of networks. So I mean, I like the person who asked the question, I spent 20 years in business. Before I was in the not-for-profit sector, in government, all these different things. I have accumulated a lot of people in my life. Some of them are still relevant and some are not. And yes, I could spend time on LinkedIn and uninvite them, or unconnect them, or disconnect them, but personally, they're actually not doing me any harm. And for me, yes, I have blocked people in the past. You can do this. So if people are not behaving the way that you would expect, or you think it's unprofessional, or for personal reasons, you can protect yourself and you can block people. I've done this very, very rarely. People behave normally really well on LinkedIn. But I don't necessarily, unless you say, look, I've got nothing to do with these people anymore, not interested anymore, yeah, then you can. But there is no harm in keeping them there. And I'll give you a reason why. Because on LinkedIn, some of the power we get from LinkedIn is actually through the size of our networks. And I'm not someone who says, oh, connect with everyone and anyone to get big networks. I think it does matter who's in your networks. But if you have a very small network, and I'll just give you an example. We had someone on our program, Career Catalyst, where we teach people how to become visible and how to write posts on LinkedIn about their research. And there was one person who wrote a beautiful post, absolutely fantastic post. She has 50 connections on LinkedIn. That is very little. And she got 0 interaction. If you have a larger network, people are coming up in your notifications. So, if I go in every morning quickly, and I'll just do that now, and I look at my notifications. Notifications is where people you're connected with, what they're posting, as long as they're first degree connected, what they're posting comes up. And here, Amy is ex-Leeds postdoc. She wrote something about International Women's Day, mentioned my name. It was really sweet. I replied, these kind of things. So that then comes up in my notification. Or I can see Kath Noakes is an academic at Leeds, very active on LinkedIn. I love her work. She's so supportive of our researcher community. So I can see, what's Kath doing today? Or, we have the podcast, these kind of things. If I cut a lot of people out of my network, I actually get a lot less here. Also, I have fewer people who can then comment on my things. And you could argue, okay, they're not relevant to me anymore. Why would I want them to comment? But there's something about the size of your network and getting engagement. And when we go to the alumni function, and we'll do that in 10, 15 minutes, you would see what I mean by that. So unless you really say, totally wrong people, I really don't anything to do anymore, I wouldn't just leave them there. And also, you know, sometimes people I connect with, or people come to me from 15 years ago, and you know, we might not have been in touch very much, and suddenly something comes up at work, and suddenly she or he is relevant to me, or the other way around. So I'm not necessarily one culling my networks if I move on professionally. I think there is something to be said about the diversity of networks. But it is, I can stress this, it's a personal choice. I just love having big, wide, diverse networks. Other people want much smaller, much more close-knit networks. So it's a choice you have to make. I hope my explanation makes sense.
That's okay. Thank you, Ruth.
Yeah.
There are a couple of other little questions. Sorry, there's lots of questions popping in.
Yeah, no, I'm totally fine.
So Olivia says that could she use for her image, so her background image, a 19th century painting or colleague of paintings available on a collage of paintings available on Wikimedia?
Oh, that's a good question. For me, it's all about copyright. If you know, we don't want to commit any copyright violation. So, that's a really good question. My library colleagues, what do you think? You're the experts on this.
Yeah, so I was thinking the same thing. I think as long as it's, you know, checking the copyright restrictions and making sure that that any sort of you accredit the right people, and you know, it depends on the thing. But I mean, this is something that I will take to my colleague Nick Shepherd. He is an absolute expert on all things Wikimedia. So I will definitely ask Nick, and I'll get him to get in touch with you, Olivia.
And Olivia, I would also say for me, it's always, if in doubt, ask. You know, that goes for, you know, also, you know, I'm thinking of PGRs who are, or, you know, people who are funded by the EU. They have different rules. You know, I don't want anyone to get into trouble for what kind of image they take. But also, if there's an image that you absolutely love and you think that's the kind of image you want to put on there, go on Deposit Photos and do a search. You know, there are a gazillion paid portals where you buy the copyright, and the images are maybe $1. You know, what is that? That is about £1 these days. You know, it's really affordable. If it's a great image, I would do that, as long as we don't, you know, and I would never accuse anyone of stealing, but a lot of people go on the internet, download something. And I know one PGR got into trouble because he downloaded, he was using a piece of equipment, wanted to show that on his LinkedIn profile, didn't ask for permission, took a screenshot, and the company got in touch with his PhD supervisor, and they were really unhappy. He was arguing, I'm marketing your product, and they were saying, no, you're stealing our images. You know, so I just want to be more on the cautious side, if you don't mind. Okay, let me just, before we go into I just want to show you a few more things on the profile, and I'll use mine now. Because I can show you then also how to change things. So we've done the image here. There's me smiling. It's my headline. Okay, we go down now. What I absolutely love, what is really hard to write, and I want to be honest about this, is your about section. About section is 2,000 characters at your disposal, and you decide how you want to write this. It's hard to skim for people, and they are skimming online. I want you to write the whole profile in the first person, so not in the third person. The first person is, you know, I did this, I did that. Third person is really strange on LinkedIn or online in general, because I think it builds a real barrier between you and the reader. You write about yourself as if you're a different person. It works on a CV. That's what we do on a CV, but not on the LinkedIn profile. And just, you will find profiles on LinkedIn here where people talk about themselves in the third person, and it puts a total distance between you and the person in the profile. And for me, it's all about how do we engage? How do we build that type of intimacy with our profile? How we get the reader closer to us? And I'll show you a few other ideas. I've written a story, but then, you know, if you don't want a story, you can talk about, you know, your research interests. You can write about your skill set. You can talk about your career aspirations, whatever. And I'll show you a few examples because you have some great ones there. What's also new on LinkedIn now is you can show your top skills in your about section. And I would really urge you, it's so visible. You're obviously looking at now with me editing my own profile, but even when you look at it as an external on my profile, you can see the top skills. It's so visible, so clear. Please don't underuse that opportunity. And then what I love is featured. It's relatively new on LinkedIn, and I want to encourage you to use it. It's so much at the top and it's very prominent. And what you see here is 2 pieces. I had only 1 piece on here for a long time. This is our podcasting, as part of our podcasting team. We won a national award in September. It was absolutely wonderful, and we're so proud of it and so happy about it. So what I did was, if you click on this link, it takes you to the award page, and you learn more about it. But you can then write also your own text. And so what was really important to me was, I mentioned the people who were not there because we're a big team, and so you write your own piece here and you put a photo up and the link, and you can have between 1 and 5 pieces. It can be a news article, it can be a video, it can be a presentation you did, it can be a photo, it can be anything. And then I'm doing something that's unusual for me. I put something personal on LinkedIn. I'm fundraising at the moment. I'm doing a big charity trek, and it's really interesting. The most responses I've ever had on LinkedIn in all those years was this post, and I had something like 1,200 people looked at it, and for me that was quite unbelievable in a way, because I normally only do professional things on LinkedIn. But so people have more of an interest now also about what do you do as a person, and so it doesn't have to be like it used to be 100% only professional and career related and work related information. So the odd sparkle of something private, people are really interested. Who are you as a person behind that job title, career consultant for researchers, if you see what I mean. So you have 5 options here. So either 1 piece that is very central, or 2, 3 gets a little bit harder, and then 5 you have to start scrolling. And some people just have 5 wonderful things they want to showcase, but just be aware people then have to scroll. Not everyone scrolls. So if you have 1 big thing, that's really important. I would go for the 1 thing, or maybe 2. But if you say, oh, hey, I have so much to showcase, I want all of it, put in 5. But just be aware people interact with it differently. And then, yes, on LinkedIn, people can see your activity. Everyone can see your activity. That's the thing. LinkedIn is public. So I want us to be really cautious and mindful of what we put on there. So always, if in doubt, talk to your line manager, talk to your supervisor, because I know some of the research is confidential. So in that case, you cannot put it on here. You'll get into serious trouble. So we need to be really clear about our boundaries. But we're professionals. We're good at censoring ourselves. We just don't put things in here in a rush. We're good at self-critical thinking, and if in doubt, ask your colleagues, how does that come across? What do you think? Or talk to your line manager. Okay. Then we have the experience section. You all have this, and what you notice here might be different. So yes, LinkedIn puts in my job title, but nothing stops you from explaining what that is, because what I'm very aware of is, in academia, we're so used to job titles that don't really mean that much to people in other sectors. And especially when I work with our researchers who want to move into different industries, whether some of the top job titles just don't do you justice enough. So don't shy away from giving a little inspiration or a little bit of an explanation here. Then you can write something about the actual post. And what I see too much is no information. If people come onto your profile, you want them to stay and you want them to see the wonderful work that you do. So please, even if it's just a few lines, I've written too much, I need to go back in and cut that down, because people don't have the patience anymore. I need to bring in more bullet points. So I need to work on my profile as well. But here again, I can put in skills and evidence. And this is a really important piece for me. Remember earlier I said, lots of fake people online. People are a little bit suspicious. Are you real? Are you really as good as you say? They want to see evidence. So what you can do with LinkedIn is you can pull in pieces of evidence. So, I have a certificate here. I'm a member of an organization here. This is our podcast page. I have further down, I was quoted in The Guardian. Yeah, it was 2017. That's many years ago, but it's still there. If you click on it, it goes through to the Guardian article and you see Ruth Winden quoted with my quote and my company and everything. For me, that is really important because it shows to people I'm real. I'm not just pretending to be who I say I am. I am that real person. And so if you have things like that, and now as in our researcher community, you all have things here. What can you put in here that you're comfortable with sharing? Maybe it was a conference speech, maybe it was a poster, maybe you got quoted somewhere, maybe you wrote a blog article for your department, whatever it is, link it in because it really matters. I have been around for a long, long time. I've done many, many things. So don't get intimidated by that. And when you get to my age, you will have the same. It's just there. And I don't even mention everything anymore. But I do make sure I don't have any gaps because I cut out things I did when I was at university because I did some really interesting things, but they're don't matter anymore. So I concentrate on my post-degree career. Then we have my education here, and okay, then you can do licenses. So anything you've done, certifications. I know some of you are, anything you do with AI, go for it. AI is so popular. If you have any certifications, AI, technical things, but also anything that, if you have a project management qualification with Prince 2, I know some of our researchers get these qualifications these days, or you're chartered scientist, or whatever it is. Stick it in, it makes you who you are, and it's evidence again. Then one thing I love is projects. And I know lots of you will be doing projects. Projects are an opportunity to showcase who you collaborate with. So you pick a project, you write something about it, and then you put your skills in, and then you add the other contributors. And then LinkedIn, in this case, this is Jet Hall, my colleague. We have been working on this together. I add in Jet Hall. LinkedIn then contacts Jet Hall and says, Jet Hall, is it true that you're doing this project with Ruth Winden? Jet says yes. Then he shows on my profile and I show on his profile. So that is a really nice way to showcase who you work with. And I would not skip it because so many of you do projects, and so many of you do actually projects with very, very important people in your field, and why not showcase that? It's that association. These are the caliber of people I work with. So have a think about that. I think it's underutilized. Not enough people show this. And you will see here lots and lots of contributors, and I need to go in and maybe take some out and add some new ones in. It's always in progress. Then here, I volunteered a lot in my career. I'm proud of it, and say something about it. In Britain, people love people who volunteer. It's a very British thing, I find. And if you volunteer, don't shy away from putting that on your profile. It shows what a community spirited and good colleague you are. And it says something about if you find the time to give something back to society or professional association or whatever it is in your case. And then skills. Now, remember we had skills in the About page, we had skills in the experience sections, and now we also have here the skills section. And what is really brilliant is you have up to 100. That's a lot. I'm not expecting you to come up with 100 skills necessarily, but I don't want you to put just 5 on there either. And LinkedIn showcases the top 2, and how they determine what the top 2 are is based on the numbers. So yes, I have a lot of endorsements for career development and coaching. That's why the 2 are top. You can go in, here, if you want to add skills, you click the plus sign, and you can also add it, and you can actually change the order. Sometimes LinkedIn changes the order of the skills, and some that are not that important to me come up. I go back in and I put, because I want people to see the 2 skills that are really important to me is career development and coaching. And the fact that I do change management as well, yeah, okay, but I don't want this to be my top 1, my top 2, if that makes sense. I'm a bit scared to go in and then LinkedIn kicks me out, but I'll try. So if I click here on that pencil, can you see they're all coming up now? They're all coming up. And you can see for some of them I had 0 endorsements, and for some of them I had a lot. And oops, now something else is happening. Apologies. Let me just, this is so sensitive. Okay, let's go back. But can you see, I can click here, and then they say, oh, tell us where you use the skills. I can delete a skill, I can save a skill. So there's a lot you can do. But it's something that people don't spend enough time on, because I know that a lot of recruitment goes now towards the skills, and people who come to your profile, they might be looking so exactly with your expertise, but you have to have it on the profile. And I just continue, and then it's recommendations. And this is something I am really passionate about. I work really hard with my researchers to encourage them to ask for recommendations. In higher education, we seem to have a bit of a hesitancy here, and in industry, no one hesitates. So I want all of you to go out and ask for recommendations, and I'll show you in a minute how to do that, because you do excellent work and you deserve the recognition, and people do look at the recommendations. You can get them and you can also give them. So if you have talented colleagues you love working with, nothing stops you from giving a recommendation. They really mean something. But what's important to me is that you actually asked for it in a good way. And let me just see whether I can just do this. I'll just do it here with Jazz, who's a professor. And if you want to see a brilliant academic at Leeds, very active on LinkedIn, Jazz is the person to follow. He's amazing on LinkedIn. And I know him, and I could now say, oh, maybe, I've worked with him in the past, maybe I would like a recommendation from him. So how would I do this? I would probably, when I'm at the university, bump into him, say, oh, would you do this? So we don't have to do it on LinkedIn, but the technicality is you have to sooner or later come onto LinkedIn. But when I know people well, I might just mention it in a conversation rather than them getting a message from me out of the blue. But what you do is you go onto the profile. You have to be first degree connected, though. That means you're directly linked to each other. And then you click on more. And can you see this here? It says request a recommendation. And you click on this. And now I need to say, okay, for, what's the relationship? And let's say, he's senior to me, but he didn't manage me. Then I say, when was it? Okay, it was in my time at Leeds. Okay. Can you imagine? Jazz is an incredibly busy academic. And if he gets a message from me and he knows me well and he says, oh, would you write me a recommendation, please? Jazz probably thinks, oh, my word, what is she thinking? I don't have the time. Where do I start? And then he might not do it. So I'm recommending to my researchers that there's no harm in saying to people, since we've worked on project ABC together and you saw me do XYZ, could you please comment on that? I want you to be strategic in your recommendations, because we don't want these very generic recommendations. Oh, Ruth is really nice to work with and she knows a lot about this or that and careers is her thing. That doesn't really help me very much. So I would say to Jazz, we worked extensively together on LinkedIn. Would you comment on my expertise in advising senior academics on how to use LinkedIn, for instance? He will probably then take 2 minutes to write something quickly and then it's done. He sends, so I then get the recommendation sent by LinkedIn. If I like it, I can show it. If I don't like it, I can go back and say, would you please share this or that? I only had to do that once in my whole life on LinkedIn. And then it shows on my profile and shows on Jazz's profile. And in industry, people do this all the time. Because we work hard, we do a good job, and we want to make sure, that we get that recognition. Let me just maybe show a few things on here with Jazz. Look at me, he's so active. Here we go. He has several things. Can you remember featured? He has 1, 2, 3, and then we start scrolling, 4, 5. You've gone through the whole thing. And if you want to show the breadth, that's not a bad thing to do. And again, he has the experience and he writes about it. And so you get a really good feel for who he is, what he does. And he has a really extensive profile now, which is wonderful to look at. And he's very, very active. If you want to follow him, you can also follow him and see he's so engaging. He posts lots of really good things and he supports lots and lots of people on LinkedIn. He's my total role model when it comes to senior academics at the university. Very brief. Yeah, we have some questions.
Sorry, just before you continue, there's just a quick question from Vanessa about the profile. So in terms of, you mentioned cutting out some things from your profile. When would you advise doing this? So Vanessa says she's now 30 and almost done with her PhD. Shall she remove all the customer service work done during her undergrad?
Really good question. I would not do that yet, because I think, anyone who's worked in your undergraduate years, kudos, it's really demanding, and customer service roles are always useful. And I wouldn't cut this out, because as you go forward, even in academia or beyond, it's experience you can share because it's relevant. I cut all my undergraduate stuff out because I'm so old now. No one is interested in what I did, 36 years ago. So that's where and we don't want any gaps. So just to clarify, I would not take anything out in terms of gaps. Those of you working parents, LinkedIn is also offering now the option that we can put a career break in, and we can describe the career break, which I think is really useful. And I see more working parents do that. But I'm not suggesting, I would wait a little bit, but let's say if you maybe have 5 things in there, are they all 5 that important and relevant? We all did lots of things in our undergraduate years, but always think, is it still relevant? Is it still useful to show for my career? I think for me that would be the consideration. Any more questions before I quickly go on to alumni?
I can't see any more at the moment.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah.
One thing I want to show you though is quickly, you need to save your profiles, because you put all that wonderful work in there and you go onto your profile. I'll just do that quickly. View the profile, and where was it again? It is somewhere. Where has it gone? I could see it on Jazz's. It's somewhere in here. That's not a very good explanation, but it is there. It's on the more not open to, no. Oh, LinkedIn, where have you gone? But you can save it. And the other way where you can save it is if you go into the settings, there is something where you can download your everything on LinkedIn. All your connections and their contact details, all of the posts, all of the images, all of the profile. And I do this once a month. I just download the whole data set. They take about a couple of hours to send you that, and then I have it as a zip file, and it's there just in case LinkedIn gets hacked or something happens to my profile. So because I put so much effort into my profile over the years, I have many, many, many connections. I don't want to lose them. So that's sort of the backup I would suggest. And if we have time, I'll show it at the end. But I definitely wanted to show you quickly the alumni function, because for me, that is just the most amazing thing. So every university is on LinkedIn. We go onto their page. I start with Leeds because that's where we are. And here, what you can see is there is the alumni page. So if we click, an alumni is basically everyone who has studied or worked here. And if I click on this, we are very lucky because we have 232,000 alumni at LinkedIn, at Leeds. And I can now look at where did they, all of them, all 233,000, where they work, where they live, what they do, what they're skilled at, what they studied, and how I'm connected. And can you see this? I'm connected to 317 directly, but look at that, third degree, almost all of them, because of my connections. That's the breadth that you get. And if you have very, very few connections on your profile on LinkedIn, you just don't get those numbers. And the numbers can be really helpful in looking at opportunities. Let me just go back quickly. Oh, gosh, it's not liking what I'm doing here, is it? Come on. Here we go. Okay, so I just want to show you how you can use this. Let's say you want to do a postdoc at Monash University in Australia, and you want to find people that are there you can talk to. And let's say we do 2010 to 2025, and you're looking for people. Oh, now I clicked and now it will tell me, okay, that can't be right. Okay, it just looked at all of alumni between 2010 and 2025, but I want to go to Monash and see who's at Monash. Or I can go in and look at, I'll do Monash first, and then I can go, okay, 617 alumni from the University of Leeds have something to do with Monash University. And what I can do now is I can say, okay, I want to do research at Monash, and I click the 66. And then I can think, okay, What do they study? Medicine. Okay, here we go. Because I'm in medicine, I'm a researcher, and I want to be at Monash. 7 alumni, and you know what? They all showed up here now. That's the beauty. In less than a minute, I found 7 researchers at Monash University in medicine, and they have something to do with Leeds. So obviously, if I now click, I can see, did they study at Leeds? You know, did they work at Leeds? How come they've got the Leeds connection? But the beauty is I could go now, let's say to, I could go to Robin, and I can click on the profile and I can see what she's doing. And somewhere, okay, she worked at the University of Leeds. Here we go. So what I could do is, and there it shows, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is Leeds? Leeds must be somewhere because it said she worked there. Did I overlook this? That's interesting. She must have a Leeds link, otherwise it wouldn't say. So where is it? It will be somewhere. But what I can do is I can get in touch with Robin and say, Robin, I'm so glad I found you on LinkedIn, because, you know, we have a connection with Leeds, but I'm actually looking at moving to Melbourne. I'm really interested in Monash. Could we have a conversation about what it's like to do a PhD at Monash, or what is, you know, what is the public health and preventive medicine department like, or whatever. You know, you can have those conversations, and this is the beauty of it. Look how quick that was, and I'm still intrigued. Where is Leeds? It must be somewhere. It must be somewhere. Okay, she probably studied here. Here we go. She did her BSc here. Yeah, so always look at all the options. And the reason why I say let's go to Leeds first is when people have something in common, that's when they connect so easily and they're prepared to talk. You can go to any university. I mean, you don't have to go through Leeds. You can also obviously go through any other university you studied at, but you could go to MIT, or you could go to the University of Berlin, or wherever you can connect with anyone. But the alumni function is such a nice way of looking at, you know, what have people studied, what's their expertise, where they work, where they live, and also it gives you ideas of employers for your new career direction if that's what you're after.